What's up, y'all? Thanks for stopping by the Surge T channel. In this video, I'll be talking about recent comments made by Francis Ford Coppola, who defends Martin Scorsese's Marvel comments, and he himself calls the films despicable. In this article, he says, "I don't know that anyone gets anything out of seeing the same movie over and over again," the 80-year-old filmmaker said of Marvel picks after being honored with the Prix Lumière. After Martin Scorsese faced backlash for describing Marvel films as not cinema, fellow director Francis Ford Coppola has come to the defense by offering his own take. After being honored with the Prix Lumière on Friday in France, Coppola was quick to state that he thinks Scorsese is right in his stance on Marvel movies, according to the Agence France Press News Agency and France 24. When Martin Scorsese says that the Marvel pictures are not cinema, he's right, because we expect to learn something from cinema. We expect to gain something, some enlightenment, some knowledge, some inspiration, said the legendary filmmaker. I don't know that anyone gets anything out of seeing the same movie over and over again. The 80-year-old Godfather director took it further by making his own jab. Martin was kind when he said it's not cinema. He didn't say it's despicable, which I just say it is. Coppola marks another high-profile industry figure to speak out after Scorsese's comments prompted outcries from Guardians of the Galaxy director James Gunn, Joss Whedon, Kevin Smith, and more. Despite receiving criticism, Scorsese has stood by his comments, having compared Marvel picks to theme park films invading theaters. While speaking October 13 at a press conference alongside Robert De Niro and Al Pacino ahead of The Irishman's closing night screening at the BFI London Film Festival, Scorsese reiterated his not cinema comment. It's not cinema, it's something else, he said. We shouldn't be invaded by it. We need cinemas to step up and show films that are narrative films. The director also said during BAFTA's annual David Lean lecture, theaters have become amusement parks. That is all fine and good, but don't invade everything else in that sense. That is fine and good for those who enjoy that type of film, and by the way, knowing what goes into them now, I admire what they do. It's not my kind of thing. It simply is not. It's creating another kind of audience that thinks cinema is that. Scorsese's comments came after the world premiere of The Irishman, which is set to hit theaters November 1 and arrive on Netflix on November 27. First you had Martin Scorsese and now Francis Ford Coppola, arguably two of the greatest filmmakers ever in Hollywood's history. And they have the right to their opinion. There are some people that actually think on the lines that they do. I myself think that, Marvel is releasing too many films. And sometimes, it does tend to oversaturate the market. And you have to understand from their standpoint, from where they stand. It's like they come from a generation of filmmakers that they didn't make these type of films. They made films that were standalone, films that carried the message there in that film. They didn't have to continue a storyline unless it was like The Godfather that had 3 films. And then Scorsese, I don't think that he's done trilogies or even sequels to his films. But of course, the history of Marvel, they're constantly making films every 2 years, connected to the universe and all that stuff, which is well and good. I mean, even Scorsese was like, hey, it's all well and good, but you can't just make that, I'm going to say in my quotes, standard bearer, that's going to stick into the heads of filmgoers now, growing up, that they're going to think that's all the films are about. And then, he's saying that, Scorsese's saying, they're not cinema, and then yet you have Coppola going one step further and going, no, they're despicable. I mean, I can understand from his standpoint, but I don't know if they're despicable, but for me, they tend to get a little tedious, kind of repetitive. I hope, and I was just thinking the other day that I hope that they don't try to remake these films. You know, we have plenty of characters that they could use in the fourth phase and go from there, you know. Because pretty much the third phase was it, right, for these characters, right, for the original characters. So it should just be that, and that's it, you know. But I can understand where he's coming from, seriously. I can understand why Scorsese and Coppola are doing this, because, you know, you get backlash from Kevin Smith and Kevin Feige and, you know, James Gunn. But they have to understand that where these filmmakers come from. They're old school. They don't think along the same lines as the comic book geeks and the ones like the directors now who grew up with comic books, and they appreciate these type of films. You know, so don't get your panties in a bunch there, Kevin Smith and James Gunn and all you guys out there that don't agree with what they say. Don't be like the damn, you know, SJWs and all these other groups that because you don't agree with them and you don't follow their, you know, their way of thinking, that they're wrong. Scorsese and Coppola aren't wrong. It's their opinion. You guys aren't wrong in your opinion. So let these guys voice their opinion. Hey, this is America. I guess you guys forgot, right, that these guys are open to their own opinion. I don't agree with a lot of things that people say, but it's like I'm not going to say, oh, they're stupid or dumb or wrong for thinking that way. You know, it's like I'm at a point now in my life where I'm like, I'm not letting stuff, you know, get to me. I'm like, I don't care anymore about you know, this and that, and the fact that, you know, they're changing this person and changing that character, because it makes you stress out unnecessarily. So to me, Scorsese has a right to say this, and Coppola has everything to say. Now let's see what other directors are gonna, you know, jump on the same, you know, on the same wavelength and thinking as they do. You know, who knows? But no, this is my video, my thoughts on Francis Ford Coppola joining Scorsese in his criticism of the Marvel films. I think they are right in their criticism because I can understand where they're coming from. They're old school directors. They don't believe in this type of filmmaking because it's like, you know, they're just constantly doing the same thing. I mean, who was the one that said compared? Yeah, it was Scorsese compared it to a, you know, amusement park ride. You know, and that's all they're going for is just thrills and just all that, and not any kind of substance, no storyline, no, you know, something that builds strong characters. And I'm not saying that Marvel doesn't do that, but when you talk about Scorsese or for Francis Ford Coppola, they're, you know, we all know the characters that they built in their films, you know, from the Godfather films, Departed, Goodfellas, you know, Casino, you know, Apocalypse Now, you know, legendary films with amazing characters and things that drove a film, and that was that. They didn't have to continue on in another film, you know, unless of course there was Godfather, of course, but that needed to be done because it was a multiple layered story and, you know, a number of books. So, you know, but anyway, you know, like I said, that's my video, and for those of you who stopped by and checked it out, thank you very much. I appreciate it. And in closing, and as always, take care.